In today's video, I want to talk about an urban legend that still frightens people today because they're still seeing these particular beings. And these so-called beings are called the black-eyed children or the black-eyed kids. If you like this kind of content about conspiracy theories, scary facts, true crime, and you also like drawings that go along with the stories that I'm talking about, like and subscribe so you never miss a single video. So let's get into talking about these black-eyed children. The black-eyed children are paranormal creatures that pose as children between the ages of 6 and 16. They are said to be ETs, vampires, or ghosts. They have pale skin, black eyes, and I mean complete black eyes. The whole eye is black, and no one knows what they really are. There has been sightings around since the 80s, but may go back further. They hitchhike, beg, or show up at your door at your goddamn house. But don't ever pick one up or let them in. Since the 90s, people have been coming forward with sightings of these beings. But watch out, they are pretty damn persistent and try and get in your car or house. It's reported that when you encounter these things, they give you an overwhelming feeling of dread. Other than the blacked out eyes, these kids appear pretty normal, but their clothing can be old, tattered, and out of fashion. In rare encounters, they can be seen with talons as feet. Theories about these children range from being aliens to demon entities. An ex-reporter from Texas named Brian Bethel wrote about his encounters with these kids back in 1996, and he was the first known person to report it. In 1996, Bethel was approached by two black-eyed hooded boys aged between 9 and 12 while sitting in his car one night. They both went to get into his car, but all of a sudden he had an intense feeling of panic and fear. So he ended up rolling up the windows, and they banged on the windows and said, "We can't come in unless you say it's okay, so please let us in." Bethel was pretty rattled and he drove away as fast as he could. When he looked back in his rearview mirror, there was no one there. Nothing ended up happening to him, and I think it's because he never let them in his car. An elderly couple encountered two kids, a boy and a girl, that knocked loudly 3 times on their door, which usually means that they're mocking the Holy Trinity. When the elderly woman came to the door, the children didn't make any eye contact, but they said that they were there to wait for their parents and they were coming soon to pick them up. They didn't want to let them in, but they did anyway. They noticed that their cat was scared of the kids and started getting angry. The black-eyed kids then wanted to use the bathroom. The wife looked at the children, and when she did, they looked at her, and that's when she noticed the black eyes. She was completely terrified. She showed them to the bathroom, then came back and said to her husband, "Did you see their eyes?" When she reached her husband, he showed his wife that his nose was bleeding and his hands were filled with blood. Then the power went out. Standing in the dark, they hear the kids at the end of the hallway that said, "Our parents are here," and they left. The wife went to the door and saw 2 tall, slender men standing at the front of their house. They collected the kids and walked to their car. The wife said she waved, but there was no response, and they drove off. Not long after they drove off, their power came back on again, and nothing else happened for the rest of the night. During that week, weird shit started to happen. The cat went missing, and then was found in a pool of its own blood, dead. The husband kept getting nosebleeds, so he went to the doctor and was diagnosed with an aggressive cancer. These things love to stalk and cause psychological harm. These next two stories of black-eyed children sightings have been cited in Cannock Chase, in Cannock, England. That paranormal investigator and author Lee Brickley talks about in one of his books. A 17-year-old couple in 2021 that was camping in Cannock Chase reported hearing a giggling ghost girl circling their tent and moving in unhuman ways before moving behind trees to hide. Allegedly, there was a young girl murdered there in the 60s and her soul still haunts the area, and this isn't the only sighting of her either, which I will talk about in the next story. Around midnight, the teens said they heard noises. They were apparently camping illegally, so they thought that might have been police to move them on or an animal, so they just laid there for a little bit and listened to what was going on. That's when they heard human-like footsteps, so they decided to have a look. That's when they saw something move from tree to tree quickly, with giggling and also peering out from behind forest growth. They shone a torch on her and she stood there with her head slightly dipped, giggling louder. The giggling was described as surround sound, like it was surrounding them. Both then felt very disorientated. Then she just ran off down a path into dense trees and was not seen again that night. They were so terrified that they just laid there in the tent until dawn. Once daylight came, they packed up and headed back to their car. When on their 15-minute walk back to their car, they saw a girl with black eyes peering at them from the dense trees. So apparently they ran for their lives as they yelled, "Leave us alone." Apparently, Cannock Chase and a lot of areas throughout Cannock are riddled with paranormal activity. Another story was from Staffordshire in England. A mother had come to him and told him that her and her daughter heard cries for help in the West Midlands while they were walking along the footpath. So this mother and daughter went in the direction of the cries for help. The mother stopped walking and had a feeling to turn around, and that's when she saw a little girl, all of about 10 years old, standing there with her hands over her eyes. The mother asked if she was all right, and then the little girl lowered her hands to reveal black eyes. The mother grabbed her daughter and got the hell out of there as quickly as possible, but when she looked back, there was no one there. Apparently, back in the 1960s, 3 schoolgirls were murdered there. Was this a ghost, or was it a black-eyed kid mimicking the ghost of a murdered child? In 2014, a British newspaper said that the sightings of these humanoid beings was on the rise around the world. These sightings just haven't been of just a whole physical formed child either, but apparitions of black-eyed kids that have been seen as well, and some even say that they are ghosts of murdered children seeking revenge. There is no known pictures of these things either, leaving many people to believe that they are not real, or kids just playing practical jokes on people, or even a hallucination that just happens to be a widespread phenomenon. Or people are just on drugs. A lot of the images captured of so-called black-eyed children of videos and whatnot are just fake. So what do you think about this urban legend of the black-eyed kids? Do you think that they could be paranormal, an entity that walks the earth to prey on people and their life energies, or are they just absolute crock of shit and just kids playing pranks on people? People still claim to see these creepy children, usually in the dead of night, driving home, seeing these beings peering from around trees or on the sides of the road, just staring. Also, there are stories of people who have encountered these things and they have disappeared and never been seen again, or died just after the encounter with these black-eyed children. If these stories are true, I think it's a strategy for evil entities to use to get what they want from people, and what better than to use kids, because people are going to help kids and let them into their houses and cars. In recent years, these black-eyed kids have been the butt of creepypasta stories as well. So what is your take on the black-eyed kids? Do you think that they exist? Do you think that it is complete nonsense? Or have you got proof? Have you seen one yourself? Or do you know anyone who has encountered these particular beings? Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on this matter. And there is a lot of stories on the internet about these black-eyed children. By all means, knock yourselves out with reading a lot of them. I don't know if they're true or not, but they are a really good story to read if you want a little bit of a scare. So the illustration that I did for this particular topic on the black-eyed kids was of the main story that sort of intrigued me a bit, but there's not a huge amount of detail on, so I don't know how credible it is. But it's the story about when the two kids, the boy and the girl, went to the elderly couple's house and they let them in and they came inside. And I wanted to draw that particular scenario of these two creepy kids. I sort of thought of maybe brother and sister, and they've come in with, you know, with their horrible energy that shuts down the power and causes awful things to happen to the humans that they encounter. And I wanted to give them these horrible smiles, these completely disturbing smiles with blood all around their mouths, and they've got these weird, creepy, humanoid but alien type hands, but their other arms that are interlocked together are like a monster type tentacle. And I think that was kind of like a bit of an afterthought, because I was going to just have normal hand, well, their so-called normal hands holding hands, but I thought I wanted to sort of up that a little bit and do like a creepy tentacle, like they're not human. Like these things, God knows what they are, but they are not human. And I sort of really wanted to push that with this particular sort of creepy, slimy tentacle type thing with these pussy sort of warty sores all over it, sort of going up. I really just wanted to get across that these black-eyed children and this legend, this urban legend, is terrifying. And these beings, if it is true, they are not here for any good intentions. So anyway, that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed some urban legend facts on these black-eyed children. And let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!